So I haven't done one of these in a while. I missed last month's wrap up. I don't fully know why. It probably had something to do with me going through probably the worst book slump that I've ever been in. I'm sorry, but I'm back. So, you know the drill. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the books that I read in July, and then we're going to draw from my handy dandy TBR jar for August hopefuls. So let's just get right into it. I have all my notes here because this noggin doesn't do memory or words apparently. So I'm just gonna go through everything. So if I'm looking at this a lot, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of dog hair. Wow. So I'm gonna be referencing this probably a lot. So yeah. So in the month of July, I read 7 books, which is, I guess, a pretty average number for me. I have read more in a month, but I've also read like 1 book in a month. So I'm pretty happy with 7 books, especially since July was a very busy month for me. Yeah, 7 books, lucky number 7. I'm good with that. So now let's just go down the list and y'all know how these work. Anyways, so the first book that I read in the month of July was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I gave Reckless 3 stars. If you saw my reading vlog about this book, you kind of know my thoughts, but I will just go ahead and give a little bit of a rundown. So in this book, we're following Kai and Peyton after everything that happens in Powerless and Powerful. I just felt like nothing plot-wise happened in this book. It just felt so repetitive through everything. And then just in the last like chapter or 2, plot twist. When there was no plot, there was a plot twist. Yeah, that makes sense. I finished this book feeling disappointed. And I will go ahead and say that when I read this and I gave my review and my rating and everything, I hadn't seen anything about what Lauren Roberts said about this being the calm before the storm for the last book. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't think that my opinion would have changed even if I knew that, because that doesn't change how this book flushed out. It doesn't change my opinion in the long run, but it makes me very excited to see what the next and final book is going to be like, because I am craving the storm. I am craving the insanity and the craziness. Like, I need it yesterday. I'm very excited to continue this series, but I was a little disappointed with this one because I was looking forward to it so much. It was my most anticipated read for 2024. Those are my thoughts on it. I still love Lauren Roberts. I still love her writing style. She really knows how to write romance and everything. I was hoping for more of a plot in this one, and it just didn't happen. And it's probably her method to the madness in this series. And that's fine. It just not what my brain was expecting and what I was kind of hoping for. Reckless, book number 1. The second book that I read this month was The Wife Upstairs by Frida McFadden. I actually listened to this as the audiobook while I was at work. I gave this book a 2.5 stars. Now, I feel like there's a few factors that go into this rating and how I feel about this book. One, I don't remember much of anything that happens in this book. That could be because I was working and I got distracted, or like it was an audiobook and I tend to zone out sometimes during audiobooks. But I think the biggest thing is earlier this year I read Verity, and these 2 books are incredibly similar. They both revolve around a woman who is either very sickly or was in an accident and she's no longer independent to take care of herself. The husband hires someone or just brings someone in to either aid in taking care of her or continuing work for her or for the wife, you know? I remember throughout the entire book, all I was thinking is, this is so much like Verity. I just kept getting lost in that thought and feeling, and that's probably just a me problem. That's probably not even to do with the book. So I think that I need more time, and then I'll maybe reread this book again and see if I feel differently, but it just felt like a repeat of Verity to me. So I just felt this feeling of, this is very repetitive. I just read this and it just didn't interest me at the time. And so that was probably a me problem. I love Frida McFadden's books and her writing. It's just so quick and easy to get through, and she typically has incredible shock value in her books. Not in like a cringy way, but in like a really well thought out, methodical way, you know? But with all that being said, my only memory of this book is that I remember it being like Verity. I think that I became uninterested in it. I really don't remember all the nitty-gritty details of what happened in the book. So, excuse me. So I don't know if I can give a full review of this book. I think I read it at the wrong time for me, and I definitely want to give it another chance in the future when I've had more time between a similar book. And I'm really hoping the rating goes up because I do love Frida McFadden and her books. I was like either in the midst of my reading slump or just getting out of it. It was kind of a lose-lose situation for The Wife Upstairs. So, my B, but I do plan on giving her another go in the future. The third book that I read this month was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This was actually my first book that I ever read by Ali Hazelwood. And I'm gonna be honest, I was very worried that I was going to dislike this book for a few reasons. I was worried that this was gonna be one of those situations where this book is super hyped up and my expectations are up here and it just doesn't meet it. And I was also a little skeptical about the women in STEM aspect to it. I was worried I was going to be confused by it or put off by it in some way, but nope. I loved this book. I thought it was super fun, and I actually really enjoyed the women in STEM aspect of it. It was really Grey's Anatomy vibes in my head. I gave this book a 4-star, and I really enjoyed this book. I love Ali Hazelwood's writing style. I love the way that she formed the relationship in this book. It's just so cute and so good. Hold on, I need coffee. So good. This is my homemade protein coffee, by the way. So good. Back to this. So we're following Olive and Adam, and they strike up a deal to do this fake dating thing for their own individual gains. Shocker, it becomes real. I don't know, I really enjoyed this book. I think the only reason why it wasn't rated higher were just because of a few things that stood out to me. Not in the best way, but it wasn't so overdone that it would have gotten lower than a 4-star rating, you know? So the few things that just kept coming up where I was like, okay, was talking about how Adam is so big, he's so tall, he's such a big man. Okay. It's like that was his main personality trait, is that he was tall and that he was grumpy or brooding and that he was old. Like those are the things that just kept coming up, whether just by his description or it was Olive's dig at him of him being grumpy and old. And I got to a point where I was like, okay girl, like let's be a little more creative with this banter. If all that you can say about him is that he's grumpy and old, he's kind of a winner in my head. Also, he wasn't old like at all. He was maybe 34. And then the last thing that I was just like, can y'all be a little bit more creative, was every comeback that he had to her was that she was a smartass. Like she would do a dig at him and all he would say back is smartass. Play along, it's more fun, play along. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book. I loved her writing style. I loved the dialogue in this book. I thought it was super fun, and I will definitely be picking up more Ali Hazelwood in the future, considering I have several of her books. I'm gonna talk about these next 3 books all together. It'll make sense. The next books that I read were the first 3 books in the Harry Potter series. If you didn't know, I am starting a series on my channel where I am rereading the Harry Potter series for the first time since I was in middle school, or just rereading Harry Potter. So all of these are 5 stars. You get 5 stars. You get 5 stars. You get 5 stars. Everyone gets 5 stars. I feel like Oprah. But yeah, the nostalgia and the vibes of these books, it just speaks for themselves of why they're 5 stars. And so I am not going to talk about these books anymore, because if I start talking about these books, I will not shut up. So you're welcome. 5 stars. And then the last book that I read this month was The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This was such a sweet story. So in this book, we're following a woman named Lucy Hart. She is a teacher's assistant, and she forms this bond with one of her students named Christopher that she wants so badly to adopt him, but things are just not lining up in her personal life. She just doesn't have all of her ducks in a row, and she wants the best life for Christopher, and she just can't give it to him at that moment. And she is given this opportunity to compete in this series of games by a famous author who just so happens to write these books about a place called Clock Island that Lucy and Christopher have bonded over. And this competition revolves around the one and only copy of the final book that this author will ever write. And they're competing on who's going to get that one and only copy. And that could be nostalgic gain or financial gain. So she competes in these games, and that's basically this whole book. I gave this book 4 stars. I feel like I would have given it a higher rating if I had read the physical book. I listened to the audiobook of this one, and like I said before about The Wife Upstairs, when I listen to audiobooks, sometimes I zone out a little bit. So I fear that I may have missed a few things that are important in here, and I think that I would have enjoyed this book a lot more and given it a higher rating if I had read the physical copy. So it's on my to-do list either this year or the beginning of next year to reread this book, but the physical copy, I really feel like this would be a higher rated book for me if I had just taken the time to sit down and actually read it. As of right now, this is a 4 stars. I'm assuming upon the reread, it will be a higher rating, you know? But overall, I felt that this story was so heartwarming. Also, Meg Schaefer's writing style, so good. It is so beautiful and thoughtful. I love how everything is described and how the characters interact with each other and how the development of the story happens. And it makes me really excited to not only reread this book, but read more of her work as well. I want more. I want more of this writing. So those are all the books that I read in July. So now let's get into the August hopeful / TBR. Let's get you out here. Y'all know the drill. I'm trying to think. Let's see. I read 7 books last month. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pick 4 out of my TBR jar and just leave the rest for mood reading. The thing that I have with TBR and hopefuls list is I always feel pressured to just read from those, and it makes reading not as enjoyable for me. So I kind of want to do a small amount of TBR and hopefuls to leave me more time and room and the flexibility to read books that I'm just in the mood to read. So yeah, I think that's why I'm just gonna pick like 3 or 4 of these TBR prompts, and then we'll just go from there. Okay, I think I've shook this up. I've shook this up enough. So number 1, a book with magic. I think everyone watching this video will already know what I'm gonna pick for this one. We'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, a book with magic. For number 2, a cover that has flowers. Ooh, okay, that's prompt number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna do some upside down shaking. A book with people on the cover. That one will be pretty easy, I think. And then the last one is a cover with no people on the cover. That's kind of funny that I got both of those in this one. So I've got my 4 TBR prompts. Let's pick the books. Let me just bring my TBR cart over here. These are my summer TBR, and we're in the month of August, so this is really the last official month that I can my brain just like stopped working there completely. So these are my summer TBR books, and I feel like since we're in the month of August, this is really the last month that I can read these for the vibes. Like as soon as it hits September, I just want only fall books. So I'm gonna try and prioritize these as best I can. I will get a book with magic in a little bit because it's in a different area. So let's get this one first. A cover with no people on the cover. Things we left off. So much dog hair. Did you see that? There's Love Redesigned and Magnolia Parks. So I think these are my top 3. What I'm gonna do, this is gonna be my strategy. Rather than starting a new series, I'm going to finish one. So this is the first one on my August TBR, is Things We Left Behind. This is the last book in the Knock 'Em Out series, and I'm very excited to wrap up the series and just see how everything fleshes out. That's number 1. The second one, a cover that has flowers on it. This has flowers on it. See? So I've got Practice Makes Perfect and Magnolia Parks. I want to read Magnolia Parks so bad, but I feel like this is one of those mood reads that I have to pick up. I have to be in the mood for it because I've heard so many reviews about this book where it's like you either love it or hate it and you have to go into it like for the vibes. This just has mood reader all over it. So I think to be safe and to ensure my best chances of enjoying this book, I need this to be not on this is the book that I have to read this month. You feel me? So for that reason, I'm gonna go with Practice Makes Perfect. Also, because this is a short, simple book, and compared to this Lucy Score sized brick, I think this would be a nice little pairing. So that's book number 2. And book number 3 is a book with people on the cover. So like all of them. So we've got these guys. I've got Dial A for Aunties, which is like a cozy mystery. Finlay Donovan is Killing It, which I think is a comedy mystery, comedy thriller, something like that. Got Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood and Queen of Shadows. This has been sitting on this cart for almost 2 months. And I feel like I want to save this one for when fall truly hits. I've heard so many amazing things, specifically in these last 4 books, and I just need the vibes to be perfect in order for this book to get what it deserves. So I think for that reason, she's gonna have to chill for a little bit longer. Please don't fall. Stay. Thank you, Selena. So I've got Love Theoretically, Finlay Donovan is Killing It, and Dial A for Aunties. So I already have 2 romances. So I think for that reason, I'm gonna shelf you. So now I'm in between the 2 cozy mystery, like comedy thriller vibes. I think I'm gonna go with Dial A for Aunties just because I've had this book a lot longer. I think I've had this book for a couple of years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And I only just recently got this one. So she needs to just chill on the physical TBR for just a little bit longer. There are others that have been waiting long enough. So these are the 3 from this shelf. So let's go to where my other books are for the last TBR prompt. Okay, so the last prompt for this video was a book with magic in it. I wonder what I'm going to grab. Goblet of Fire, 100%. Just gonna continue this series. The next video in the series is gonna be out later this month, so that's exciting. Goblet of Fire is the next one on my August hopefuls. Also, y'all have never seen these shelves before because this is in my new office space. The room isn't new, but the vibe is new. Yeah. But I'm not going to show you around in this video, but you will be seeing more of this office in the very near future. So, but These are the books on my August hopefuls. I am very excited about this. This is a nice little spread and it leaves some room for some good mood reading, which is really nice. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below what your most anticipated read for the month of August is. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, whatever it is for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!